What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. I'm your host, Pat Deneen, and this is my review of Monday Night Raw, which took place October 23rd at the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas. Now, look, the show was okay, decent at best, and that's all right, I suppose. This week, it took a little bit of a dip. The past couple of weeks were much, much better, on a great trajectory, but it's all right. We still got some story leading into Crown Jewel in less than 2 weeks' time, Saturday, November 4th, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Got some good matchups coming up for that, although me personally am looking forward to later in the month of November. Of course, we have Survivor Series, the final Core 4 premium live event of the year taking place. I kind of wish all eyes were focused on that. But as we have this deal with Saudi and such, and look, most of the shows are pretty good, whether it's a Superstar Showdown or a Crown Jewel or the Greatest Royal Rumble, where Titus is sliding underneath the ring. The shows over there are pretty good. So look, I don't discount the fact that it's going to be a good show on November 4th, but I really wish we were putting all of our momentum into Survivor Series. Nonetheless, though, let's start off with this show here. It started off with Judgment Day, the new two-time undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions Finn Balor and Senior Money in the Bank Damian Priest making their way out to the ring. Now, I'm going to mention something that most of us know by now, that the Judgment Day coming together the past year and a half. Shout out to Edge or Adam Copeland now in AEW for putting this group together. It's worked wonders for all of them tremendously. I mean, let's start off with Rhea Ripley, right? The official or unofficial leader of the Judgment Day, becoming Women's World Champion earlier in the year. And just her whole gimmick and character has improved drastically from her last year becoming a heel yet again, where she's thrived for years in NXT. Don't get me wrong, Rhea Ripley babyface was cool time to time, even in NXT, her towards the latter part of her tenure in NXT. But Rhea Ripley as a babyface on Monday Night Raw and on the main roster in general was brutal. Some would even go as far as to say it was nauseating, because we knew that really wasn't her at the end of the day. She thrives in this heel role, and she's just doing so good, not only for herself, but for the group as a whole. We've seen what it's done for Dominic Mysterio, her Dom Dom, right? Two-time North American champion. She's helped the boys become two-time undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, Senior Money in the Bank. Damian Priest is just waiting to cash that opportunity in. Will it be on a Seth Rollins, a Roman Reigns, or somebody else for maybe even a mid-card title, a Gunther, right, or Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title? So we'll see about that, but it's just worked wonders. Damian Priest was floundering for so long prior to joining the Judgment Day. Finn Balor was back and forth, right? He had just come up from NXT, spent some time on the main roster in 2021, becoming the Demon King a little bit, going up against Reigns in a losing effort. And he was kind of wishy-washy, unsure of himself. And then, of course, Dominic Mysterio, he had a great couple of years alongside his father, even becoming a SmackDown Tag Team Champion, right? What was it, 2020 or so, during the whole Thunderdome era. And then we knew there would come a point where Dom would eventually probably turn heel, but how is he going to become a convincing heel? He seems so shy and didn't really take command of the microphone in just any segment, really. So we're like, how's that going to work? And honestly, it's worked wonders with this group collectively. And I give a lot of credit to Rhea Ripley. She didn't make number one on PWI's, was it top 250 or top 500 list a couple of weeks ago, just for being a good wrestler. She's a great wrestler with a great persona now, really just fits like a glove. And she's made all these guys just so much better. And this group has worked wonders. So I'm happy for the growth of all of them, the expansion for each and every one of these individuals. So this show started off again with the Judgment Day coming out. Back to Damian Priest. If you remember, right before this whole thing came about, where he helped Edge beat AJ Styles at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, Priest becoming the first official member of Judgment Day. He had this Jekyll and Hyde personality, very hot and cold, very bizarre kind of scenario that one would assume Vince McMahon had this idea for, right? And then the Judgment Day happened, and slowly but surely he came out each and every week alongside Rhea Ripley. Then came along Finn Balor, right? And then, of course, Dominic Mysterio. And so it's just worked out great. So that's fantastic. Anyway, speaking of Priest, he gets on the microphone, gets in the ring, and says, they're back on top, dripping in gold, and they're back to running Monday Night Raw. Then suddenly, the music of Cody Rhodes hits. It felt like, don't get me wrong, I love Cody Rhodes as much as the next guy or gal, but it felt like Cody Rhodes took as long as The Undertaker. And see, maybe that's just the way it's been lately. We know Cody Rhodes has a great theme song, right? We're well aware of that. Damn, it takes him a while to get out there. So Cody Rhodes made his way out. Plus, he's wearing a suit. It's not even like he's getting ready for a match. So let's get the show on the road here, folks. So anyway, Cody made his way out. And he goes and says to Damian Priest and Finn Balor, he says, "How does that feel, guys, to get interrupted?" He says he had some choice words for the leader of the Judgment Day, but can see Rhea Ripley is not out here. Thought that was great. Again, we all know she's the unofficial leader of that faction, that's for sure. Cody says Rhea is their mommy too, not just for Dom Dom. He said, it seems like she's calling the shots, cutting deals as of late. It's been seen, including one with the Bloodline, even talking to Drew McIntyre and so on. Priest interjects, basically, long story short, and says, "At this point, your story has got to be that you failed." It's Cody for so long, and so many people saying he's going to finish his story, right? We all thought that was going to happen at WrestleMania 39 this past April in Hollywood. Didn't happen. So poked a little fun at Cody. Cody did not take well to that. Cody says, "I don't know. Why don't we put that theory to the test right now?" And again, he's in his suit, but he's ready to go. Wouldn't be the first time he fought in his suit and dress shoes and so on. So Priest goes on to say, "You know that I have a match tonight with Jey Uso." Priest says, "Maybe it's Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest at Crown Jewel." Cody says, "I accept." And then he says, "But why don't we give everybody a preview of Crown Jewel right now?" So Cody is, for the second time in a matter of moments, he's ready to go here. He's not playing games. But then suddenly we saw Rhea Ripley, mommy, making her way out with Dominic Mysterio. They're coming from the entranceway. And then, not so fast, Jey Uso comes out. He attacks Dom from behind. Cody sends Priest to the outside, but then JD McDonough, as always, not an official member of the Judgment Day just yet. It seems like for months now, he's, if it was up to Finn Balor, JD McDonough would have joined the Judgment Day probably back in May or June when he was first drafted to Monday Night Raw. But Damian Priest, regardless how many good things JD McDonough does, even giving him this new briefcase, right? Senior Money in the Bank about a month and a half ago, he's still not okay with JD McDonough joining the group just yet. So make of that what you will. So anyway, JD showed up. He hits Cody with a chop block. 2-on-1 attack with him and Priest taking care of Cody. Priest then struck Cody's left leg with a steel chair while Cody's foot was placed within another steel chair, thanks to JD McDonough, right next to the steel ring steps. I guess, some form of a concerto that had took place there. So Cody was hurting bad. He was down bad. Had to go backstage, get medical attention. When they came back from the break, as a matter of fact, Adam Pearce, the new Monday Night Raw general manager, was backstage with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Rhodes clearly writhing in pain. Jey Uso was not happy. Probably couldn't wait to get his hands on his opponent, Damian Priest, later in the night, which I believe was set for the main event. So that was pretty much that. Moving on to the next segment, we have Alpha Academy with Chad Gable, Otis, and Maxine Dupree with Akira Tozawa. That viral segment that happened last Monday Night Raw, where Akira Tozawa seemingly showed up out of nowhere behind them, doing some kind of a move in their gym training area. And it was funny, don't get me wrong. Tozawa's funny. Not quite sure where his place with them will be and for how long. But look, if it's anything comedic, you're going to see Tozawa. That seems where, they've not been very sure of where to put him throughout the years, WWE, ever since, 205 Live, Cruiserweight Classic, all that. And so, it seems they plug him in wherever they see fit. So look, Tozawa was with Maxine Dupree as Alpha Academy, was to go up against the New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Now, prior to the start of this match, Michael Cole informed us that in 2016, his broadcast colleague, Wade Barrett, had his final match with WWE in this very building on April 4th, 2016, on Monday Night Raw. It was Wade Barrett and Sheamus, members of the League of Nations at that moment in time. If you remember, Del Rio and who else? Rusev were a part of that faction. I actually liked them. It's a shame that they didn't last as long as I thought they would have. Also wanted to see Cesaro in that group. I remember that vividly. But anyway, so it was Barrett and Sheamus who went on to challenge the New Day for their tag titles. Unfortunately, they lost that match. Post-match, the League of Nations actually blamed Barrett for being the weak link and attacked him, tossing him from the group, never to be seen again until, WWE picked Barrett up, in 2021 or so, for commentary on NXT. We also found out in that very building was where Wade Barrett defeated John Cena at Hell in a Cell 2010. So there was a silver lining there. And however, we also found out in that building was where Wade Barrett won the debut season of NXT in 2010. So a couple notes there that Michael Cole and Wade Barrett both brought to light to us. That was interesting. So now, as this match wore on, Chad Gable tagged Otis. Xavier Woods never saw the tag take place. This is all the while where he's trying to find Kofi Kingston to tag him in, but Kofi was nowhere to be seen. He was knocked to the outside a little while earlier. So Woods did a reverse caterpillar, trying to be funny, mocking Otis, who does a very good caterpillar, by the way, especially for a man of his size and stature. I think we could all agree to that. So he does this reverse caterpillar, working his way right into a Chad Gable ankle lock. I thought for sure this match was over. Thought it was donezo for New Day. Alpha Academy should have got the win there. However, that was not the case. Sooner or later, we see Kofi Kingston get back up. He reemerges. He hits Otis with the Trouble in Paradise, which then led to an elbow from Xavier Woods coming off of the top rope for the 1-2-3. Surprised again. I thought Alpha Academy had this one in the bag, especially after that, that maneuver that Woods had pulled. So that was the finish of that one. So now we're backstage with Jackie Redmond. She has Becky Lynch, the NXT Women's Champion, and Jackie basically discusses with Becky, hey, you have a title defense tonight against Indi Hartwell, and you also have a title defense tomorrow night on night one of NXT's Halloween Havoc against Lyra Valkyria, back to back. What do you got to say about that? And Becky went on to say, like, look, I'm a fighting champion. Bottom line, I will be defending my title tonight and tomorrow night, in fact. And but look, I got to go up against the former NXT Women's Champion Indi Hartwell tonight, who won that title. What was it, back WrestleMania weekend? I believe it's Stand and Deliver in that ladder match, due to a little help from her lover boy, Dexter Loomis. But unfortunately, she had to relinquish that title almost immediately, due to the injury that she did sustain, as well as being drafted to Monday Night Raw shortly thereafter. So it was unfortunate that Indi did not have really a title reign. It's nice that she's in the record books as champion. Would have liked to see her, reign. I'm not going to say she would have had a 6 or 8 month reign at all, but it would have been nice to see her maybe take that into the summertime and so on. But hey, look, she's on Monday Night Raw. Good for her. So, she'd get that opportunity from Big Time Bex a little later in the show. So this next piece here, I absolutely loved. And that's because we got to see a vignette for one half of a tag team. The Viking Raiders, Eric, is out with an injury. It's an undisclosed injury as far as I'm concerned. We haven't heard anything as far as why he's out. It's been about a month and a half now. And usually when a tag team, one member of a tag team is hurt, they're put on the shelf till God knows when, right? So the one thing I really like about this is, and AEW does a great job with this, by the way, as well, is when, somebody goes down, they find a way to piece in the other half of the tag team. In singles competition, give them a run, right? And WWE's done it before, obviously. Main event Jey Uso, right? This was created during the Thunderdome era, during the pandemic, while his brother Jimmy was out for quite some time. And I believe he got injured around WrestleMania 36, maybe, in that ladder match, that tag team match, triple threat. But anyway, main event Jey Uso, we got to see that, right? And again, you've seen it countless times on AEW television as well. And here we are. We have Ivar getting a vignette with Valhalla. Ironically enough, their valet or manager, I guess you could say, also Eric's wife, formerly known as Sarah Logan. And this was great. This was a great piece, giving him a singles push. And it was awesome. In short, they said, Valhalla went on to say, now is your time to lead us into the future. The one true warrior, Ivar. So again, I love it. I think it's fantastic. If you remember, just, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe, Kofi Kingston and Ivar had a fantastic match on Monday Night Raw, gave them a great amount of time, really showcased both men. Obviously, we know what Kofi's like in singles action. We've known that for years now, former WWE champion and so on. And to see Ivar in this position while his tag team partner is out, I think is absolutely awesome. That they're finding something for him, because it's not even an opportunity where they're giving it to somebody like, oh, let's see what he could do. Like, he takes that opportunity and runs with it. And especially for a man his size, the way he moves, could jump off the top rope and so on. So if you're familiar with the Viking Raiders, namely Ivar, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. So we'll have to see how far that takes him, but that's really good stuff to see. So here we have Seth freaking Rollins, right? The WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He happens to run into the Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley. Now, both of these individuals, I believe, were at the very top of the PWI top 500 or 250 list for the men and the women, right? So that's pretty damn good. And if Seth is not number one, he's either 1 or 2. I know the Shield were in the top 3. I know Moxley was 3, and I'm pretty sure Seth and Roman were 1 and 2. So anyway, here we got Seth Rollins and Rhea again. He runs into Rhea Ripley and says, he's got style and a title, so you're in the wrong place. I guess, Seth's fashion is not for everybody, but it is unique. We all know that. Rhea says she's a little bit concerned for Seth going up against Drew McIntyre. Rhea wanted to discuss business with Seth Rollins. So Seth goes on to tell Rhea, "You don't think Damian Priest will be able to successfully cash in on me, do you?" And he goes and says, "That's why you're wheeling and dealing with the bloodline, Drew McIntyre, and so on." As I alluded to earlier on in this podcast. And Rhea goes on to say, and this is very interesting, she says, "You need me because you're just a world champion, but with me, you could be the world champion." Rhea also goes on to say, "Without us, the Judgment Day, I don't know how you're going to accomplish having a title reign like Roman Reigns. Over 1,000 days is a long time, but with the way that your back is so fragile and broken, we could have your back. We could make people acknowledge you." So Seth goes on to say, pretty disgusted, by the way, from all of this. He says, "If there's one thing I don't want, it's to be anything like Roman Reigns." Rhea said, "Well, that isn't a no." So let me just say this. Seth Rollins, with or without the title, I'm not going to go as far as to say he's stale. I think Seth Rollins is on top of his game. He's been doing a fantastic job as world champion and just, as a superstar in the WWE upper echelon for a very, very long time, right? This time last year, he was U.S. champion for a little bit as well. Seth has been fantastic. I will go on to say this, again, with or without the championship in the seemingly, near future, whether it's Drew or somebody else that takes him down, Damian Priest maybe when he cashes in. I would love to see Seth Rollins with the Judgment Day. There's no doubt about it. He would be a fantastic leader for them, really. Of course, Rhea is the unofficial leader right now, and she's done a great job. But I think a Seth Rollins in there would really be something special. Love a heel Seth Rollins. I really do. Babyface Rollins, it's good. It's good. It really is. But I think this would really propel him, give us something new, fresh, revitalize him. And again, whether that means he's still the champion or not, I think this would be a fresh start and, a bit of a break from what he's been doing. What he's been doing has been great. Obviously, everybody in the crowd chants and cheers and sings along with his theme song. They've been doing it for months now. But I think this could be a really good look for him. Don't think it's going to happen, of course, but I am totally open to the idea and the concept because what is it? The Judgment Day, they've been trying to recruit for a very, very long time. Numerous people, right? Whether it's Jey Uso recently or even Seth Rollins, many others. And Seth is the first one where I really said to myself, I think that would be an amazing fit. They kind of, toyed around with Drew McIntyre as of recent, whether it's just, maybe not necessarily trying to recruit Drew McIntyre to become a member of the group, but, maybe just aligning themselves with him for the foreseeable future for whatever reasons. All right, so now we had Indi Hartwell with Candice LeRae backstage. They were interrupted by Natty while they were talking, getting ready for Indi's big match or NXT Championship match against Becky Lynch. Natty goes on to say, "Look, go and take back that title that you never lost. And look, I'm here for any advice, whenever, wherever type of deal." I thought it was nice. I do think it was genuine. I really do. But I also felt like there was a little bit of a vibe there, kind of like I felt with Natty and Tegan Nox in the recent weeks, that Natty at any moment in time could potentially turn heel, whether it's on a Tegan Nox, whether it's on an Indi Hartwell, or another innocent victim of the babyface side of the women's division on Raw. I could see Natty flip the switch at any given moment. It was also made mention, I believe Natty's the one who said it, that Tegan Nox sustained an injury last week on NXT, where I believe she fought Becky Lynch, if I'm not mistaken. And or maybe it was actually a Monday Night Raw, either or. It's alleged that she has an injury. I really hope that isn't the case. I hope it's just storyline, because we all know Tegan Nox and injuries go hand in hand. Was it 2017 and 2018? Was it back-to-back Mae Young Classics that she sustained injuries? I know the more recent one was against Rhea Ripley in that tournament. And so she's had some brutal knee injuries, tearing ACL, MCL, and so on, meniscus tears. And so, again, I hope Tegan is not sincerely injured, and that, again, it's just they're just talking about it because it's believable, right? It's definitely believable that she got injured. She's very injury prone, but hopefully that's not the case. So anyway, speaking of Indi Hartwell, they go right on to this NXT Women's Championship match. Becky Lynch, champion, defending against Indi Hartwell. So let's jump late into this match here. We had a superplex into the disarmor. I thought it was over for Indi Hartwell at this moment in time. However, Indi's strength took over. She broke free from it. Spine buster from Indi to Becky. However, Becky Lynch kicked out at 2 here. Once again, Becky locked in the disarmor. This time, Indi had no choice but to tap, and still Becky Lynch, the NXT Women's Champion. Post-match, Becky and Indi shake hands in the center of the ring. Who knows what's next for Indi? I don't know. Again, I like Indi Hartwell, but I don't think they have a whole hell of a lot for her on the main roster, sadly enough. On Monday Night Raw, I think the best thing for them, realistically, and I say them, meaning Indi Hartwell and Candice LeRae, former NXT Women's Tag Team Champions just a few years ago. Of course, now they merged the titles just a few months back when Alba Fire and Isla Dawn lost to Ronda and Shayna, and that be that. And speaking of which, I would love to see Candice and Indi team back up. They definitely could make a nice run at those tag titles, right? They're on Monday Night Raw. Of course, so is Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, another team we don't see nearly enough of. So that could be two very good babyface tag teams. And who knows, maybe one of them could become heel at some point in time. Either are believable. Casey and or now Katana, formerly known as Casey Catanzaro, but Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, they could just be fed up and furious that they're not really given opportunities or showcase on Monday Night Raw much other than backstage segments, so they could easily turn heel at any given moment. And then maybe Candice and Indi, go and turn heel as they were in NXT for a little bit. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. So either or, I think they got to find something for Indi and Candice, and if not in singles, then why not put them back together for the time being? So after that, again, they shook hands, center of the ring, Becky and Indi. Becky then walks up to Lyra Valkyria, who is sitting ringside for this match at Monday Night Raw. And again, Halloween Havoc, that's Becky's opponent for that NXT Championship. Lyra's got her eyes locked on that title. Again, two girls from Ireland going to battle, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Me being Irish myself, I love it. So I honestly love both of these wrestlers. So here we shoot to a quick angle backstage. Candice LeRae visibly disappointed that her friend Indi Hartwell lost this match against Becky Lynch, trying to win back that NXT Championship she never lost, right? But Candice was suddenly slapped and knocked to the ground by Xia Li. Xia Li's been on a warpath these past couple of weeks, threatening Becky Lynch, challenging Becky for her NXT Championship, wanting that opportunity, but not quite getting it just yet. And Xia goes on to tell Candice, she says, that's a message for Indi Hartwell too. With that slap that knocked her to the ground. So here we have Raw General Manager Adam Pearce and SmackDown GM Nick Aldis backstage. Just like Pearce was on SmackDown this past Friday, now Aldis is on Monday Night Raw. And Aldis goes on to say he takes full responsibility for having Adam Pearce escorted from the arena on Friday Night SmackDown. He was just trying to establish full authority, admits it was a rookie mistake, and just looks to ensure that SmackDown becomes or is the #1 show. Pearce says, look, it's water under the bridge, be that as it may. Why don't you stay and see how the flagship operates on Mondays? Pearce tells a WWE official, by the way, to double the security for the Women's Fatal 5-Way World Championship match contract signing that would be coming up next. And that's for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, Crown Jewel, taking place Saturday, November 4th. That was pretty much that. That would not be the last we see of Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis throughout the night. Saw them many, many times together. And of course, Pearce being the GM involved in many other situations as well. So let's go to this contract signing, shall we? So first up, we had Shayna Baszler, Raquel Rodriguez, Zoe Stark, Nia Jax, all competing for this world championship that Rhea Ripley has been holding for quite some time now. And then, of course, Rhea Ripley made her way out as well. They all signed the contract as soon as they made their way to the ring. Ripley says she could beat all of these women individually and that this is a conspiracy that Adam Pearce has all 4 of these ladies going up against her all at once. The more Pearce tries to control her, the more she'll make his life a living hell. Rhea says she sees what he's doing, but the only thing that will happen is he'll have 4 less women in the division by the time she's done. None of these women can beat her, and she'll prove she's the most dominant woman in the division and that mommy is always on top. She means it, and so far, so good for her. I mean, early on in her title reign, I think we could all agree it was lackluster. Not really her fault, but based upon the opponents they were putting in front of her, really wasn't much of anything. But now they're finally starting to amp things up the last couple of months, and this is what I like to see. Whole bunch of back and forth between all of the women on the microphone. Chaos ended up ensuing, and by the way, we got a Nia Jax segment on the mic as well. I think we could all bypass that respectfully. Again, so chaos ensued. It comes down to Nia Jax and Raquel Rodriguez facing off. Security guards got involved. Everybody's flying everywhere. Jax ends up hitting a Samoan drop on Raquel Rodriguez. And by the way, Rhea stayed out of the ring for all of this. She wouldn't dare. get caught up in the mix with these 4 women and the security and stuff, let them beat the living hell out of each other so that she could pick the bones in a week and a half's time at Crown Jewel, right? So she just let them do their thing while she was unscathed ringside watching this. Next up, backstage segment here. Akira Tozawa pops up again. Tozawa challenges Bronson Reed to a match. Reed, out of respect, declines. He says, in short, even though Bronson Reed is, in fact, a heel, he said, look, let's not do this. It's not going to end well. Tozawa chops Bronson Reed. Again, the comedic side of Akira Tozawa, who is as big as one of the fingers on Bronson Reed's hand and dares to go and chop him across the chest. Reed then accepts the challenge, accepts the match to take place later in the night. Now, look, of all people, the last person on Monday Night Raw, maybe even on Raw or SmackDown, either or, but definitely Monday Night Raw, the last person I would challenge to a match, and then especially after they decline said match, and then you proceed to chop them across the chest, and that's just crazy. Couldn't believe it. So that match would be set to take place. I think we all knew where that was headed. There's no need to get Bronson Reed any angrier than he already is. So here we had Johnny Gargano going one-on-one with Giovanni Vinci. Now these two, you don't really get to see them showcased much on Monday Night Raw. This is a match basically we'd see in NXT, right? Imperium versus DIY or something like that, which I'll get to in a bit. In regards to that, that will be happening very soon. So Gargano, Vinci. I wish it was a longer match. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Vinci had, of course, his tag team partner, Imperium partner, alongside him, ringside, Ludwig Kaiser. Shortly after the match began, Tommaso Ciampa shows up, the other half of DIY for Gargano. He ends up tossing Ludwig Kaiser over the ringside area and out of the way. Basically fled the arena at that point. And Gargano hit Vinci with his one final beat, DDT, for an abrupt win. Seems like DIY is back. The last couple of weeks, we've been getting moments with them backstage or in the ring or pre-taped segments. So I love to see it. It's been a long time coming. And they hugged in the center of the ring, so it's official. And again, we'll get to the match that is scheduled for, I believe, next Monday on Raw, by the way, for DIY, their official return. Now, look, Shinsuke Nakamura cut a very cool promo. This was, again, a pre-taped segment, it seemed. Cut the whole thing in Japanese, as he's done many weeks prior. This new heel side of Shinsuke Nakamura, I'm really starting to like it more and more. And, fortunately, we got the subtitles, or I wouldn't have a chance in hell of figuring out what he's saying. Sorry, don't know Japanese. And Nakamura is pretty much looking for the ideal opponent. Who could that be? We don't know. And the segment ended with the subtitle on the screen, "Who is worthy enough to set me free?" There's all kinds of speculation of who this could be. Is it a CM Punk reference, as the internet and the Twitter sphere and everybody has been saying for at least a month now? Could CM Punk and all this, even though it's been allegedly or supposedly shot down by the dirt sheets that Punk ain't coming to WWE, or WWE's not interested, or he's talking to Impact and so on, and so, or TNA now, right? They're going from Impact to TNA come this January, which is really cool to see on a side note for them. So what can happen? Where will CM Punk go? That's a story for another day. And B, who could this mystery opponent be? We shall have to wait and see. It's got to be a specific individual he has in mind. And could it happen as early as Survivor Series? It looks like Nakamura won't be facing said individual, or I don't even think Nakamura has a match at Crown Jewel. If he does, maybe Ricochet or something like that in a rematch type of deal. But yeah, so we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So we're going from one guy who recently defeated Ricochet and Shinsuke Nakamura to a guy who defeated Ricochet this past SummerSlam, just a little over 2 months ago. That being Logan Paul. We saw him this past Friday on SmackDown, and now he appeared yet again on Monday Night Raw. Logan Paul mentioned Rey Mysterio and that United States Championship that he's coming after. I believe that's actually set to take place now officially at Crown Jewel, again, Saturday, November 4th. During this, Dominic Mysterio walked out to what seemed to be the usual manufactured crowd noise. Boos much louder than usual. I think we all could admit to that. Now look, I don't discount the fact that Dominic Mysterio gets legitimate heat, right? This time last year, I understood why the boos were getting so loud. He had just been a heel for a little over a month since turning heel at Clash of the Castle, turning on Edge, turning on his own father after that match. or during or after that match against the Judgment Day, then joining them. And so the heat was brutal, right? You know, I was at a Monday Night Raw, the season premiere last year in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center, again, a month removed from him turning heel. And yes, the heat was legit, right? And so, you know, there's every reason in the world to still dislike Dom. I do understand that. Dom Mysterio there, but not to the point for the amount of booze that he seemingly gets these days. There's no way that it's all legitimate. It's not that I just, you know, don't believe that he could get that much, you know, heat. It's that it doesn't sound real in these arenas, whether it's on a Raw or a SmackDown. It just overall, I'm not saying that it's not legit. I just know that some of that is manufactured, but you know, the debate goes on for days. Anyway, Dom says he looks forward to Logan Paul taking down his father up at Crown Jewel. Paul can't wait to be announced as the new United States champion, he says, in less than 2 weeks. Again, I could see it. I could see it. Now, last Crown Jewel, if you remember, Logan Paul, much to a lot of our surprises, went up against Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Very good match, by the way, too. Logan Paul, any match he's taken part in, was it been the 5 or 6 matches in the last 2 years? He's done a stellar job. He really has. But, you know, he didn't get the job done, obviously, against Reigns. You know, it's no sweat. Nobody's been able to really take him down, obviously. But I could see it happening this year. I really could see it happening again this year. I know a lot of people, to their dismay, you know, defeating a new WWE Hall of Famer, a legend in the game, Rey Mysterio. How could he be beat by this internet sensation or this entrepreneur and Logan Paul, who does it all, really? Just an ultimate athlete. But I could see it happening. You know, I think it would be good for WWE, obviously. The reason they signed Logan Paul in the first place, not just because he's athletic or could talk on the mic a bit, but because of the publicity that he brings, right? The notoriety that he has. So much notoriety. He has his own podcast, obviously numerous other ventures. He does the whole professional boxing bit and so on. So, and his social media presence alone, aside from all that. So, you know, that is one of the many reasons. And again, not to discount the fact that Logan Paul is a good WWE superstar, very good. But those just being the added reasons why a part-time wrestler in WWE would be holding a mid-card title. Said it in the very beginning after his first couple of matches. I said Logan Paul is more than capable of becoming a United States or an Intercontinental Champion. Obviously, he won't be touching that IC title. Gunther is on the reign of a lifetime, but I could see as to why he would become United States Champion. And probably a pretty good reign, too. I could see him, you know, maybe losing it at the Royal Rumble or even holding it till WrestleMania, possibly, if he takes it off Rey Mysterio. As much as I wanted Santos Escobar to take that title off Rey a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, thought that would have been a great passing of the torch. Whether there was harmony in LWO or not, after that, I thought that would have been great, but I do understand this. So here we have Logan Paul. He goes on to ask his favorite ring announcer, Samantha Irvin, to come to the ring. Obviously, Ricochet's fiance. So I knew where this was headed. I said, okay, things are about to get interesting here. And he goes on to say he owes her a genuine, heartfelt thank you and that she deserves her flowers for everything she does in this organization. And she skeptically gets up, joins him in the ring. He admits he made it hard for her when she had to announce him as the winner after he beat Ricochet at SummerSlam, but she kept it professional and she did an incredible job. And he asks her to give the crowd a preview of Crown Jewel and announce him as the new United States champion. So Samantha Irvin, she refused to do it. She would not announce him as the soon-to-be or new United States champion. I knew it was just a matter of time till Ricochet made his way out to the ring, and so that he did, attacking Logan Paul. The two go back and forth. And, you know, pretty much what I get from all this is that we will be seeing a rematch of some sort, I would assume. You know, Ricochet and Logan Paul, being that Logan Paul is a free agent, he could bounce from Raw to SmackDown. Of course, going for Rey's United States Championship on SmackDown, maybe mixing it up with Ricochet sometime very soon in the near future for part 2. You know, Logan Paul going up against Rey, obviously less than 2 weeks. Seems like Ricochet and Nakamura are pretty much done. Again, Nakamura, as I mentioned previous to this, looking for that next challenger, next opponent, next feud, and so on. And so yeah, I guess that's not done. I'm here for a rematch, Ricochet, Logan Paul. I really am. I mean, anytime the two get in the ring, whether it be the Royal Rumble or one-on-one, it's pretty good. So I'm here for it. So next up here, we have a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven putting their titles on the line against Natalya and Nikki Cross. Now, the good thing about this rendition or this version, call what you want, of Nikki Cross that we've been seeming to get the last couple of weeks is it seems like they're bringing us the Nikki Cross of NXT, or the, early SmackDown Live days when Sanity made their way to SmackDown over there for a little bit before they, dismantled the group. Unfortunately, I thought they really were going to do something. Her husband, Killian Dane, Eric Young, now back with TNA for the millionth time, and what was it, Alexander Wolf, who ended up joining Imperium shortly thereafter on NXT UK. And then, of course, he was cut a couple of years ago. Anyway, he's always that forgotten fourth member of Imperium. So anyway, here, I love seeing this Nikki Cross. Again, this is more like the 2019, 2020 version of her. Kind of like right before she joined up with Alexa Bliss and winning the tag titles and stuff. This was kind of the version we got prior to them meeting. I think it's good, but it wasn't good for Natalya here because Nikki Cross was just pacing around the ring, looking odd, like a psychopath. Nowhere to be found for Natalya, really. And so this was a brief match. Champions retain. Pretty much 2-on-1 for Natalya, I guess you guys could say. So there wasn't much to discuss as far as this match was concerned other than, really, Nikki Cross. So this brings us to the 10 o'clock hour, the third and final hour of Monday Night Raw. I know for a lot of people it's like finally. Because, sitting through a 3-hour show, whether it's great or not, is tough. And on this very night, it happened to be an okay show at best. The past couple of weeks, again, it's been great. So you're kind of on the edge of your seat, like, what's next? Again, this show was all right. It wasn't terrible, but I wasn't chomping at the bit for what was going on either. So now, right around this 10 o'clock hour, we find out through Michael Cole that Cody Rhodes has suffered an ankle injury. That's all they had at the time being, so that's the update we got. And so we see Drew McIntyre approach Jey Uso backstage and says, sarcastically, very facetious here, says he can't possibly imagine how it feels to have a member of the bloodline costing you the championship, much like Jey and Solo did against Drew in the recent past whenever he went up against Roman Reigns for his championship. So, referring to last week on Monday Night Raw when Jey and Cody were defending those tag titles against the Judgment Day, Jey's brother Jimmy showed up from SmackDown, super kicked him on the apron. And that was pretty much it. And Judgment Day was able to put them away again. Now the two-time undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. Anyway, Drew said, it's real simple. Just get over it. Pretty much, again, alluding to why Jey would like to see Drew and many others on Monday Night Raw accept him as, who he is now and stands before them now. Not just this sidekick or the right-hand man for Roman Reigns as he was for so long, member of the bloodline. So, being that he's babyface now, obviously. So, but Drew is making his way to the dark side, and Jey is making his, way as he's been for months now, seeing the light and with aligning himself with the babyfaces and the quote unquote good guys. I am liking this edge to Drew McIntyre. It's much needed. As much as I love to see him run babyface, he's an awesome heel as well. And right now, it's a slow burn still. He's still a bit of a tweener. He's still officially listed internally, I believe, as a babyface, but it's been clear as day the past 5-6 weeks that he's well on his way to making his way over to the heel side of things, as we saw when he was paired up with Riddle prior to Riddle's release a month ago. It looked like Drew's official turn would possibly come against his, a makeshift tag team partner in Matt Riddle, but that story obviously did not get to where it needed to be, and nor will it ever. So here we are, we're back from a commercial break. The Miz is bothering Adam Pearce. Raw GM complains it's been weeks since he got something notable, and that he beat John Cena in the main event of WrestleMania, and he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, and that the SmackDown GM, Nick Aldis, respects that. So Rhea Ripley then shows up, signs her contract that she didn't get to sign along with the other 4 ladies earlier in the night, and passes it off while The Miz gets very angry and frustrated, visibly, that the camera's following her, instead of the spotlight being on him as he always prefers. And I do like this. I really do. I think a lot of people would agree that, The Miz is somebody who's very much utilized by Vince McMahon one way or another, big or small. It seems like since Triple H is running things now officially, seemingly full-time on the creative end of things, it's not to say that Triple H isn't a big fan of The Miz. It's that he just doesn't have a whole lot for The Miz to do. So I do enjoy the fact that even though we're not seeing a whole lot of Miz TV or Miz matches on Raw as of late, that they're incorporating what could also be some real life frustrations for The Miz on TV during these segments. I think that's great. That even though it's not much, that they're at least spotlighting it or highlighting how he may feel. And the good thing about The Miz, as we've all gave him his flowers in the past, at least I have, that whatever he's presented with, he gets the job done. Again, big or small, whether he's main eventing WrestleMania against John Cena or whether he's doing something like this, nonsensically backstage, just voicing his frustrations, he knocks it out the park. So got to give credit where it's due. So here we had Sami Zayn going up against Drew McIntyre here. This was an outstanding match. I think a lot of people would agree that this was the match of the night, at least the best singles match by far. So late in this match, Sami took advantage, small package for the 2 count, exploder suplex into the corner, setting up. But Rhea Ripley, as she always does, she's had this alliance of sorts with Drew McIntyre as of late. We don't really know what it entails, but she's been out there, and it seems like what she tried to promote to Seth earlier in the night has some kind of alliance to have Drew's back. So whatever those details are, we don't know. But she was out there and helped Drew get the job done because, Rhea gets on the apron, the run interference. Looked like Sami was about to put a bow on it. He is doing his damn thing, and then Drew connects with a Claymore. That was it. 1, 2, 3, victory for Drew, and gets a little more momentum before his matchup with Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel for that WWE World Heavyweight Championship. They shoot the backstage. We see the SmackDown GM, Nick Aldis, who's talking with Caden Carter and Katana Chance. As I mentioned earlier in the show, this is a great tag team from NXT, former NXT tag team champions in the women's division, obviously, and being very, very underutilized on Monday Night Raw. Goes on to compliment them and seemingly trying to recruit them for SmackDown. Look, if I'm Caden Carter and Katana Chance, if Nick Aldis is looking to recruit me for Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, I do it. They're rarely ever booked. Again, on Monday Night Raw. It's a 3-hour show. Raw is the longest show, longest rating show for WWE of all time, right? Dating back to the early 90s. And it's the longest show because it's 3 hours. NXT's 2, SmackDown's 2. And so look, I think Nick Aldis would find something for them on SmackDown without question. So again, if I'm them, I make the jump if something's presented to me. But Pierce says, look, not so fast. Aldis says, wait. Says it was just a friendly conversation. He was not trying to recruit them or anything. Tells Pierce he will take off because it seems like Pierce had a very rough night, which Pierce agreed to. Even saying that I need a drink at the end of this segment. And I think Michael Cole said he needed a drink as well. So it seemed like, everybody was having a case of the Mondays on Raw. Everybody needed a drink. And but Pierce said that immediately following Nikki Cross eerily walking past him, kind of looking confused and saying, what the hell is going on in my life right now? So I understand why he feels like he needs to go to the bar for a quick one. So next up here, we had a match that should not have taken place, obviously, for a multitude of reasons. And Bronson Reed did his best trying to prevent it, right? Bronson Reed going up against Akira Tozawa. Look, brief match as expected. Tsunami Splash, Big Bronson Reed, as they're calling him now, Big Bronson Reed, like we didn't know that already. For the 1, 2, 3, future world champion, without a doubt, sometime before the end of 2024, I could see him becoming world champion without question, at least mid-card gold. There's no reason this guy should not have gold. Does not need to be in a tag team of any sort, at least in the foreseeable future. So if it ain't the world championship, that IC or US title definitely needs to be in his hands. That's for sure. So, look, speaking of the main event, we have main event Jey Uso going one-on-one with Senior Money in the Bank, Damian Priest. I love Jey Uso in this blue ensemble he got lately, this past month or so, being a member of Raw. I love the fact that he wears blue, such a clean look. He wore red on the blue brand, that being SmackDown. Now he comes to the red brand in Monday Night Raw wearing blue. Gotta love it. Fantastic match. And right when Jey Uso was about to seal the deal, after hitting an Uso splash onto Damian Priest, of course, Priest's tag team partner comes out, former tag team champion. Finn Balor runs out, distracting the referee from making the count. Jey ends up hitting Finn with the suicide dive, taking him down on the outside. Now, by now, Damian Priest, of course, was back to his feet. Priest connects with his South of Heaven chokeslam to get the win. And post-match, Balor joins him in the ring. Balor attacks Jey Uso's lifeless body, followed by a coup de grace. Now, of course, we're not really wondering, but because we know he would have been there by now, if healthy, Cody Rhodes, who got his ankle injured earlier in the night by Judgment Day, and JD McDonough were like, who's going to come out and help Jey Uso? Somebody got to help him because we know Cody's not able to do so. And so nobody else came out. I was a little surprised at that, somewhat. Tag champ stood over Jey Uso, and Priest tells Balor to get some chairs. While that's happening, Cody's music did hit. Cody walked out a hobbled mess, no shirt, no left shoe due to that left ankle injury. He saying to myself, it's a thought that counts, right? But what is he really going to do of use, of value at this moment in time, going up against this numbers game in Judgment Day? And so, we see a chair to the midsection and back of Priest by Cody Rhodes. Cody puts Priest's right foot into the steel chair to even the score from earlier on in the night and maybe give him the same exact injury, but to his right foot. But Finn Balor was able to get Priest out of the ring, dragging him out in time So he was able to escape that. And again, less than 2 weeks' time, as we found out at the top of the show, but was made official. American Nightmare Cody Rhodes going one-on-one, as long as he's medically cleared, of course, which I do believe he will be, because again, this ankle injury, not to make light of it, but it is storyline, seems to be the case, going up against Senior Money in the Bank, two-time undisputed tag team champion there, Damian Priest, at Crown Jewel, Saudi Arabia, November 4th. So that's what we got there. Now here's a few notes and reminders. This Friday, SmackDown will be on FS1. I believe that's due to Game 1 of the World Series taking place on Fox Friday night. So that's where you could watch that. Now next week, on Monday Night Raw, or as WWE social media accounts put, Monday Fright Raw. It was a real knee slapper, let me tell you. Taking place in Greenville, South Carolina. We have Seth Rollins going one-on-one with JD McDonough. We have Candice LeRae trying to avenge that attack she had early on in the show backstage. Candice LeRae going up against Xia Li. We have the reuniting and returning DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa going up against Imperium's Ludwig Kaiser, Giovanni Vinci. And then we have a singles match. I'm not sure if his NXT North American Championship's on the line here, but we have Dominic Mysterio going one-on-one with Ricochet. I'd love to see that title on the line. I forget if Ricochet was the very first one to win that title in 2018. I know Ricochet and Adam Cole had some amazing matches for that title. I was even in the house for one of those matches in August 2018 in Asbury Park. But I forget who won that title first, either or. I know Ricochet is a former NXT North American champion. Would love to see him get gold in some capacity, maybe even get that back. But again, I'm not sure if Dom's putting that on the line. And so those are the 4 matchups at this very moment in time that are scheduled to take place on the eve of Halloween. And so that was pretty much that as far as Monday Night Raw is concerned. Again, I thought it was a good show, not great, definitely capable of better. I feel as if, WWE's in limbo to some extent because of the 2 PLEs in November. Again, Crown Jewel, the start of the month, and Survivor Series towards the end of the month. They're trying to balance everything out, keep both cards great in their own right. And I respect that. I really do. But you could see obviously that it hinders the momentum, because it's like, we want to give you some, but not too much. So they got to pull the reins back and kind of wait till they get through to Crown Jewel. And so that Monday Night Raw that takes place on November 6th, they'll hit it, full speed ahead going into Survivor Series, just 3.5 weeks away. And we should really be getting some official matchups made, some rivalries renewed or whatnot, and see what happens there. So that just about does it for me here today, folks. Thank you as always for tuning in to the Turnbuckle Topics podcast. This is the Raw Review. I am your host, Pat Deneen, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for listening.